it that because of all the reasons above, we need to move beyond traditional services to meet the increasing demand by clients for other consulting type services, specifically valuation and forecasting, M&A, increasing revenue and profit, growth organically, IT, be able to provide IT and other control systems and increase their efficiency along with numerous other ones. But in order to do this, we need more work in the CPD education needs to increase in these areas outside of the traditional accounting areas. And CPA firms must be able to provide these non-traditional accounting services to create win-win scenarios for clients and themselves. And on top of all that, one last thing is because of the increase in fraud cases and new regulation, more needs to be done and more money and teaching is to go into forensic accounting education because it's probably the fastest growing segment of the accounting profession right now.
But I missed that cut up. I looked at these trends more from my own career as in terms of the CPA profession as a whole, and I was just thinking that I'll have to continue my education throughout my entire career. It won't just end at a bachelor's or a master's degree. It'll be a continuing process with the global economy and with IFRS being integrated into America and all these different things. I will have to continue that education throughout my career in order to provide value to my customers and my clients. I'll have to be intelligent and know what's going on, so that idea of continuing education.
Yeah, we need to focus on education, the CPA profession. We need to continue to move and grow with the markets. We need to, especially when we talked about the global collaboration. I mean, things are just going to continue to change between the merging between GAAP and IFRS, and you know, we just need to, through education, we will be able to enhance our profession.
I focused more on the, I guess, technology aspect of it and how that, in the future, that would increase the flexibility for me as a working professional, but also it might create like just a tension with setting work boundaries versus my home life, and how that, through that I'm going to have to be able to continue my education, raise my kids, do all that kind of stuff, just be a well-rounded person.
Looking at all these trends and all the things that's changing, I have to sum this whole thing up to what Andy Warhol had said once. He said that time changes things, but we have to be the one that changed them. So if we're going to stay effective, we have to be the one that's evolving with the trends that are changing.
Professionally, as a whole, we'll be able to have more trust and respect among a wider, broader diverse clientele base, because honestly, a lot of clients, they identify with their own culture, race, as a whole. That's how the world is. So I guess as a profession, if we're more diverse, we'll be able to touch a broader clientele. Individually, I see an opportunity for my career as far as moving up the chains within my firm, moving into senior managerial position or even a partnership role. I just see it as a big opportunity for me and other minorities in the accounting industry. And company-wide, well, I'm going to be with Resnick, and they already have diversity initiatives in place, and it places the company #1 among industry's best practices. So this is what I see as far as diversity part.
With all these changes, us as CPAs and students and everyone has to be more participatory and advocating for policy changes and getting rid of all obsolete tax laws or any accounting practices. And I feel that there's a lot of loopholes that doesn't address certain aspects of business now. Technologies has changed how we do business, but there's any governing policy. So I think as a professional field and as students and communities and constituents, everyone worldwide, we have to be a part of advocating changes that we need for social, economic, political, and the tax laws and how we do business.
I kind of focused on the technological aspect of it as well. Basically, I feel like, we're going to be so advanced as far as technology goes, and then going back to as far as the education part, we have to educate ourselves on how to speak to people, how to talk to people, how to be customer oriented. And we have to get back to that level of service where people, you have to put yourself in your client's shoes, because you don't wanna talk to someone who cannot articulate a sentence correctly. You know, that's very frustrating, and I don't wanna have a person who can't speak to me in a correct tone handling my money. It's plain and simple as that. So I think that we need to, as far as we need to focus on the technology. That's great, but before we leave this level, at least this basic level of college, and become CPAs, we need to know how to hold a conversation. We need to know how to interview with a customer as well as a potential employer. So I just think that those are some of the important things that we need to make sure that we keep a focus on outside of the technology.
Talked about them for a while. It should be easy.
Right, like this,
Y'all look like you're like advocating for a political candidate.
Take a look at those and take some pictures. We're going to consolidate those. The next thing we're going to do is look at what you guys picked as the top 6 trends. You had some individual time, you had some table time, you had some full group time, and now you've gone back and looked at all of them and voted. And these are the ones that have come up to be the top ones.
Well, in the profession, we need to be held to higher standards. That's in a nutshell.
All right, so does that make it more compelling that it's profession? Someone said individual.
I think it's more individual myself, because each individual is gonna have a different level of learning, and you wanna have the highest education possible. And you wanna be continuously educated, because things change so much in this field that you wanna keep continuing your education. You don't wanna just limit yourself to what I did back in, when I was in college.
All right, so those are 2 compelling reasons, and you're gonna break the tie.
Well, I think profession, because, we're talking about 2025, so 15 years from now, I'm gonna be looking at what are the education standards for accountants that I'm going to be hiring. And so, it's important for us as an individual to maintain our education and develop it, but we also need to take a look at what are the accountants of the future going to be like, what are their, cost accounting, 6 years before coming to college in another country.
That's intimidating, isn't it?
That is intimidating. It's something that we could do here, but we don't have any infrastructure in place to do so.
Okay, so multicultural women in the workforce. Okay, so those are all kind of social trends and a lot of votes. How is that going to affect what you're doing as an individual? Is it more, those issues are going to affect you as an individual CPA, your firm or company, the profession you're working in, or both? And I don't want to say you can't fit anything to both. I just didn't want you guys to take the easy way out. So, thought.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I think it would affect me individually, because as a woman, more opportunities are opening up, and women are becoming more in a power position as opposed to back, I guess, in the 60s, 50s, I don't know, where they were seen as mothers and their role was being at home. So as women become more powerful, it's like, I know that now I can be a CEO or CFO or president, So.
I think that's sort of the individual aspect of the computers and technology, because those are the devices that people are walking around with.
Device.
It affects people's attention spans, and whether they're present for the person that they're talking with. It's less that there's no face-to-face, is that there's face-to-face, but people are present and absent at the same time.
That's that, and when I made that point as a rule at the beginning of this, be present, be absent, but don't be both. That's kind of what I was thinking about, the people that are on the table with their mobile devices. So it is, they're individual devices. Is it an individual? Knowing that, yes.
But it transpires into the workplace, though.
Oh, it absolutely
And it's
does.
a big problem.
But it's your,
But it's
you
still
your
control
choice.
it.
It's your choice.
You're control it.
You're the one in control.
Starts with the individual. Can we have one in individual, or is somebody going to disagree? Let's take a vote. Individual, profession, or both? Individual? Gosh, I'm surprised. All right, we need some help deciding. All right, profession. Let me see the individual hands again. Okay, that's a little better. Profession, both. Still think it was close. It was very close. All right, outsourcing of services around the world.
Professional.
profession, individual, or both? You're in profession, profession, anybody disagree with profession?
I mean, it does affect the individual. I mean, when you start outsourcing, you know, so I mean, it will affect the individual in the future. But I'd have to say profession.
Just wanted to make the point that it does affect the individual, but he's conceding to the group that says profession. All right, and then the last one is economic globalization, education in developing nations. That's a big one. Both because, I'm not just gonna let you get away with that, both because,
It covers everything. It's so widespread, it's a very broad, I guess, trend in this instance. So it's gonna affect individuals, but it's gonna affect professions. It's gonna cover everything.
okay,
It's gonna go beyond both.
it's even gonna go beyond both, okay. Anybody else, insights? Both? Anybody disagree with both?
No, you mean like a big sweep, so.
Native interface, all right. You guys did an excellent job with that. This is the input that's gonna go directly back up to AICPA. That and one form at the end of the day that you're gonna fill out. And that was great, and I was so glad we could get a camera in to capture all that. All right, we're gonna go back now. I know I'm like on that ride at the fair that moves you around, but only because I wanted to get you on camera. So 2025, now we're going to go back to these sheets and the vision. And I know you had a few minutes to talk about, or to read on your own, but I want to talk about the process that they used back in 1998, because yes, I was there. And I did the same. Actually, in Maryland, we did, it was 12 future forums in Maryland, but overall, AICPA, they had 177 future forums. When they did this in 1998, they asked the state societies and state associations to do it in a grassroots way. This time, AICPA is doing it, as I mentioned before, the 8-city tour that Tom Hood's doing. So they had 177 groups of CPAs that did this. They had 0 students. Which, would have been a good idea. So I am so excited that we're doing students. AICPA has an online survey, so even the students that couldn't be here today, we're encouraging that. We need that input. So there was 3,353 CPAs that participated. The gender breakdown of that participation was 70% men and 30% women. I can't wait to see what the gender breakdown is this time. Only 4% were under the age of 30 when they looked at it. Obviously, if we get as many students in there as we want to get, you know, that'll change. So that was the group that participated in 1998. And at the time, this was the economy, the old economy. Now I'm going to walk around with this and let you look at it and talk about it a few minutes and see what sticks out for you. What jumps out at you when you first look at this as a big trend in 1998? Faster, better, cheaper. Okay? What do you see? Technology was a big one. Technology's still a big one. It's changing a lot. What else? What was happening in 1998? Say it again? E-business, just starting. I mean, we just like take that for granted now, right? We all. Anything else you ladies see? Technology was big. They had a little globalization going on in there, right? Some regulatory storms. The metaphor that they used back then, after they took all the data from the future forum, is that there was a storm up front. So we can certainly appreciate that, especially in the last couple of weeks of storms that we've seen. So what are some of the things in those storm clouds that you see happening in 1998, others that we haven't mentioned? Integrity.
With Sarbanes-Oxley Act.
Yep. So this is even before Sarbanes-Oxley. They were anticipating that it was going to happen. They knew. What else? Commissions. You know, I remember, you probably do too, when that was, ooh, CPAs would never take commissions. And that's, you have to disclose that to your client, but it's changed. Anything else stick out to you? Can you see it back there?
Competitive bidding.
Competitive bidding. That still goes on too. The economy drives that a lot.
Competence and continuing education.
Competence and continuing education, you guys have it up there again. The education standards.
Got leadership in here, I think.
Leadership.
Gotta have leadership.
Anything else you see?
Business.
E-business, yep, we said that back there too. So this was the old economy back in 1998. This was the world that CPAs were living in. It talks about being a scorekeeper, going from a scorekeeper to the strategic business partner. That was starting to happen. The market forces were declining in CPAs. I'm so happy to see a whole room full of you here. Consolidation of business still happening. One-stop shopping, non-CPA competition. Shift from producer to consumer. Non-traditional services, you caught the better, faster, cheaper in the center of the cloud here. The liability crisis, peer review, having your work reviewed, that just became, this was back, it was 1998, back right before that. Look at this regulatory issues coming in, like the clouds picking up the trees. International is even there now. But underneath, notice the bedrock of all this chaos going on here. And then you see what this is? Do you know what that is? Can you tell? It's like a little storm shelter. So you have CPAs that are here like, oh, all this stuff's going on. And then you have these little guys running into the storm shelter, right? They're ready to close it. But underneath, they came up with the core values, which are integrity to protect the public, objectivity. CPAs need to be attuned to broad business issues, competence, and the continuation and lifelong learning. These are the things that are going to preserve the profession through these storms, right? So that was the old economy. When they looked ahead to 2001, this was what the new economy, this is what they saw on the other side of that storm and what they were going to do. Let me go over this way. What are these guys doing? Can you tell? They're hang gliding. They're saying, okay, if these are the winds of change, CPAs are going to navigate the winds of change, and they're going to take advantage of the opportunity. And these were some of the things that were opportunities at the time. But going back to the core purpose of CPAs making sense of a changing and complex world, back to the core values as the bedrock, and they're finding ways, these are like little platforms, to launch off of opportunities. And some of those opportunities included assurance and information integrity, management consulting, performance measurement, technology, financial planning, international services, and a global marketplace. And this big right here word, collaboration. Collaboration. And when I was watching the video, they talked about, if this is the old economy and that's the new economy, the next economy talked about the participatory economy and the collaborative economy. So maybe CPAs are pretty insightful after all. They were a little out there. But that's what we want to take a few minutes to do right now. And have you turn to worksheet number 3. Worksheet number 3, we're going to get you just a few minutes of individual time again. Use your, let me get some people to, let's do this first. Take your color worksheet, and guys, it's just John in the back row on the far right. Look at the very center core purpose and read it nice and loud for me.
The core purpose, you said?
Yes.
All right, why do we exist? CPAs, making sense of the changing and complex world.
So that's what they came up with back in 1998. We're going to talk about what you think. I'll go back to this corner. Holly, can you read the vision statement, where we're going?
Where we're going, CPAs are the trusted professionals who enable people and organizations to shape their future. Providing insight with integrity, CPAs deliver value by communicating the total picture with clarity and objectivity, translating complex information into critical knowledge, anticipating and creating opportunities, and designing pathways that transform vision into reality.
Perfect. All right, and the core values, what we stand for, how are we going to get there?
What we stand for, continuing education and lifelong learning. CPAs highly value continuing education beyond certification and believe it is important to continuously acquire new skills and knowledge. Competence.
CPAs are able to perform high-quality work in a capable, efficient, and appropriate manner. Integrity. CPAs conduct themselves with honesty and professional ethics. Tuned to broad business issues. CPAs are in tune with the overall realities of the business environment. Objectivity. CPAs are able to deal with information free of distortions, personal bias, or conflict of interest.
Excellent. And then core services and core competencies, I'm gonna ask you to read those, just the headlines, because there's too much there. What are the core services they identified?
Assurance and information integrity, technology services, management consulting and performance management, financial planning, and international services.
And what about the core competencies they need?
Communications and leadership skills, strategic and critical thinking skills, focus on the customer, client, and market, interpretation of converging information, and technologically adept.
All right, so what do you think? How'd they do? It's 2011, they said these were the things that would be important, how CPAs would be working. Anything really stick out as, I missed that one?
International services. You can just tell by them look and they, explain a lot of each little heading, except for international services and like core services.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe they thought back then that things would rapidly turn global as fast as they did.
They knew it would be out there, but I don't think they knew exactly what it would look like, right? Worksheet number 3, insights on the vision. Just take, again, a few minutes to scan everything we've done so far. Think about the patterns from what you guys came up with to what they came up with. What sticks out? What seems to be most relevant today for the future? What stayed the same? What's changed? And what do we want to make sure we bring forward in the future from the work that was done? Just give a few minutes of individual thought, and then we're going to get Ashley to capture some of the group work. This is not to turn in, so it's just your notes to get you to think. We are going to have you, the next thing we're going to have you fill out, we are going to ask you to turn in. This is just to get your thinking on paper so you can do this next one quicker.
Yeah, that's right.
one more minute, and then just think about if there's anything you wrote down that you just want to share real quick that Ashley could catch about either any of those questions, what stuck out, or I'm still promising to get you out ahead of schedule too. All right, quick thoughts on any of the questions on worksheet number 3 that you'd like to share? You guys aren't getting tired on me now, are you? What seems to be most relevant? Well, okay, back here, it doesn't have to be that.
I'll just say, what do we want to make sure we bring forward in the future? And just one of the core things there was integrity. I think that's one huge thing as CPAs. We're dealing with information that is relevant to the public, and we need to make sure that we stay objective while we're auditing or doing tax, whatever we're doing. And also, we need to work hard. I think our generation is probably the first generation where we're the entitlement generation. Everything's been handed to us. We haven't had to work hard for things. We've grown up. I mean, different people have had different experiences, but as a generation as a whole, everything's been handed to us. And so we need to make sure that laziness doesn't creep in, because with laziness, integrity gets smashed pretty quickly. So.
Work ethic, integrity, back here.
I want to touch also on what you said with the first one about integrity, especially with this generation, living your teens mostly through the early 2000s and, maybe a little bit older. I'm sure you remember like in the 80s, the whole savings and loan crisis.
Yeah.
Not only like with the housing crisis, but like things like Enron and Arthur Andersen and all that. And you got to really focus on the integrity, because a new generation is coming up, and our future clients are going to be people that they were well aware of what was happening when that happened. So you want to make sure that they can trust us in our services.
Oh, okay. For what seems relevant today for the future is the whole mobility and devices communication. Because we know it today, we realize it, make sure we can change it and make it better for in the future.
Leverage it instead of abuse it. So, yeah.
I believe focus on the customer, client, and the market, because although it's very important to learn how to audit customers' business, I believe it's more important to understand the client, understand the business itself, as opposed to just learning how to audit the customers.
The insights is going to be where the higher value, right? Did you have your hand up? No. Okay, right here.
Kind of goes along with what Colin said. As a CPA, you're going to be considered a trusted advisor by your clients, and yes, the integrity is number one, and everything else that Lynn said is very high up there. But if you're not able to adapt to help individual clients move, because if you think about it, they got in just like you got into accounting for those people get into accounting to make a good living and new opportunities and so forth. That's why other people go into start new businesses and such. If we can't help them reach their goals or reach goals they never thought possible, then how are we a trusted advisor?
I want to just say one thing so don't forget, and I'm going to get both of your thoughts. Trusted advisor. When you become a CPA, the Maryland Association of CPAs a couple of years ago started working with the State Board of Accountancy, and we have a swearing-in ceremony where we come together and you raise your right hand and you take an oath to protect the public. It's serious, and it speaks to the integrity issue. It speaks to being ahead in the profession and to be looking out for your client, customer, all the things you said. And this year it's on June 2nd. It's at the BWI Hilton, and you should come just so you can see it, because it's really awesome. It's like a profession.
I second that.
It's like a graduation. We process you into the room. The State Board of Accountancy administers the oath, and then we have this big reception party afterwards. And you bring your parents and your spouse and your friends, and they get to see you stand there, and it's awesome. Okay.
What stood out to me was in 1998, they really weren't thinking about how important it is to be diversified and to be multicultural. That it wasn't on their radar at that point.
Just think how huge that is now, and that's not, for some of you, it might seem like a long time, but 12, 13, 14 years isn't really that long to just look in this classroom. It's huge. It's wonderful. Diana, did you have your hand up? Or, no, here.
I was thinking about a trend into the future is just the increase in intensity of competition, competition between countries, competition for resources, competition with information technology, like the computers are stealing our jobs, the other countries are going to steal our jobs, and even intergenerational. The younger people may be better attuned to technology, the older people are staying in the workforce, and so we need to remember it's not a zero-sum game, and that the profession could form partnerships, international associations with emerging economies because they're going to need our help. They're less developed maybe in some of their institutions, and so the opportunities.
I love the way you close that, because it's a competitive world, and some of the issues that came up there, but what you said is the profession can be the force that collaborates and leverages all that together, so maybe makes it not so competitive, but find partnerships and ways to work together and leverage things. And it's awesome. Anybody else? One more.
I just wanted I noticed, it says, are there any patterns emerging? And I just kind of noticed that technology, even back in '98, was kind of like a hot topic. You look around up here, technology was kind of like our hot one. I just think even when you're doing this in, 10 years, when you guys are going around doing this, I kind of feel like that's still going to be there because technology just keeps evolving. But I think with that, you got to hold on to some of your traditional values, because I think technology is definitely a great asset to have, but I think it's there to assist us in work, not do everything for us, at the same time. So, something to keep in mind.
Anybody else that were burning to share? Yes.
I think another trend is globalization. With being multicultural, we have to realize that as the United States, we're only using our own. We're using GAAP instead of effort and stuff like that, and we're not metric, so we're not we're not conforming to everyone else in the world. We're kind of separating us. So.
Good point. All right, if you turn to your next worksheet, that should be the last one in your file, it says 2011 Vision Feedback Form. So all the things that were just said, this is one we are going to collect. This will go directly to AICPA, and it's got 3 questions. What did you like most about the vision? What surprised you or stuck out? What do we want to make sure we bring forward? Some ideas we just shared, and then some quick statements that we want you to tell us whether you strongly agree, strongly disagree, or somewhere in the middle. So I'm just going to give you 3 minutes to do this. great. If you finish the first side, you can go ahead and flip to the second. You can finish the second one. You just have to raise it, because I'm not finished. First side is the feedback form, where those are the things that'll go back to the AICPA. The back side is just help us evaluate the program, how we did, the process, the people, the food. I don't know if that's on there or not actually, but the food was awesome. These are the forms we'll use to give the iTunes gift card away too, so I'll get Ashley and Chris to collect them, and we'll let Chris pull the winner for that one. So yeah, why don't you do that? As you finish, just hold them up, and then we'll have an idea of how people are doing, and we'll select those. We'll talk about 2 more quick things. No more work to do today. You've done all the work. Minute to finish up, and then we'll do our drawing, and I'll talk about another takeaway you have, and just a closing thought. talking to Professor Tom. We could have done this as a group, but in my effort to get you out early, I'm going to let you take this with you, but it may be that your professors are going to use this in class. So I encourage you to take this with you, but spend some time in the next day or so just reflecting on what we talked about and take some personal notes for yourselves and maybe it'll end up getting shared out in class. There was a statistic that said if you just listen to people talk, you retain 5% of what you learned. If you actually participate in discussions, you retain 50% of what you learned. And then if you go back and personally digest it, and this is what this is about, you can retain 75% of what you learned. It's really important to me that you retain what you learned because you guys came up with some amazing things today. And I look forward to watching you be the CPAs of the next generation and seeing you as members and seeing you involved in committees and watching you grow in your careers and as leaders. So this is important. It's just going to ask you to reflect on some things. I won't go through it because that'll just take time. You'll see it's real easy, but just take that extra 10 minutes to do that and we'll have those at the door for you. All right, so last iTunes gift card and then I have a closer. Got them all together here? And Chris, now you have to close your eyes. Pick one out of the group. Right to the middle, and the winner is?
Just call.
Oh. Where's? Oh, good. Congratulations. All right. Professor Tom opened with such a great quote from Drucker. And this morning, I get these quotes every day, and the one today was just like, couldn't have been more perfect, so I'm going to read you. And it's from one of my favorite people. Anybody like college football? Yeah, Lou Holtz.
Yes.
Isn't he awesome?
Yes, Notre Dame.
Oh my God. He's just amazing. And this is from Lou Holtz, and it's so relevant to each one of you, even if you don't care about college football. Ability is what you're capable of doing. You've demonstrated capabilities today in thinking and doing. Motivation determines what you do. We talked about work ethic back there, right? So you have the ability and the motivation. Attitude determines how well you do it. And I think that's all true, and I appreciate so much each one of you. You did a tremendous job. You've got great feedback, and thank you.
We got it early. Just want to say a quick thank you to the staff of MACPA. When we called about doing this, they had a choice. They could have said no because they're very busy, as you well know. But they said yes, and we appreciate that. So I want to thank Jackie and Ashley, who was the architect, and it was a good chance to meet Chris, of course. We appreciate it. I want to thank you for coming here. I was a silent observer at the back of the room, as the dean wanted me to be. I speak too much sometimes, so today I wanted to be very quiet and observe what was happening here. What I observed today was quite, well, moments of pride. I was telling Dr. Williams before she left. She said, "Where are these students from?" I said, "They're right from here, the University of Baltimore." We have an accounting honors program, and I wish all of you were members of that program. We've got members of the program interspersed among you, and I wish they would share some of their experiences today. The program is fairly brand new here. We began this past semester, and we've done a lot of things. We've been up to New York. We visited with the AICPA. We were hosted by the President's Office. We went to see KPMG, the National Managing Partner of Audits. Most recently, we went to the local office here and visited with the managing partner. The point I want to make is that what I've seen exhibited here today is really manifestation of the kind of quality you have as students in accounting. And the work that MACPA has done has really unleashed a lot of the talents that I felt all along was quite resident in all of you. So if you're not a member of the honors group, you don't want to talk to me, find out why not, and we'll see if we can get you inducted into that program. A lot of things were discussed today. You provided great insight, great perspectives. Hopefully the future will be reflective of the thoughts that you shared with the staff today. I would like to encourage all of you to join MACPA's programs. The free social networking opportunities you have, I think will bode you well. There are a lot of good information on there, good networking opportunities, and I think it's going to make for a better student in the end. Dean Smith would love to have been here, but she was conflicted. She wanted me to convey her appreciation for your taking the time on a Friday to come here, and this was instructive. I mean, a lot of information shared here today, and I'm going to make sure that everyone who's here today gets an extra credit. If you're in Dr. Korf's class, tell them that Professor Tom promised an extra credit. If you're in Dr. Williams' class, tell them that Tom's an extra credit. I heard a lot of great things today, and we're going to try to get copies of the site information.
Right, we've set up a site, we just did it yesterday, so I'll send it to you, and maybe you can send it back out to the students, where we just have a page where we're sharing all the information from the future forums and pictures and some things that you guys said, so you'll have to go back and look. And the videos will be posted there too if you want to look at them again.
Excellent. And before you go, I promise I wanted to identify those honor students so that you who are not members can perhaps, touch bases with them and find out about the program. So if you're here as an honors program, could you just stand and mention your name? Colin is one, John, and Sharon, of course, Jessica is back there, and Chris is back there. We're, the last event we have for the semester for the honors students, we're going to the Center Club. We were invited by the Center Club, and we're going to have a culminating end of semester affair, if you will. We'll wine and dine us, as it were, and we try to have a speaker. But I keep punctuating that point because this is an honors group, really, all of you. You've got that potential, and you'll be there today, and do talk to me about becoming a member, okay? Again, thank you for your time, and let's make it out of this experience.
Enjoy the beautiful Friday, too.
Come on, let's get real.